I think for a public library, we want to see what you've been doing. Because everything you do, if it brings you in contact with the public, if it lets you build your customer service skills, that's a plus. Tell us about it. Tell me you've worked at Kohl's in the returns department, because if you can handle that, you can handle anything in a public library. So, yeah, that kind of thing for us, I do want to see. I don't want to see huge gaps in your employment. One of the things I was telling Kelly before we started this, my husband's in textiles. I lived out of the country for 5 years. So I had a 5-year gap from an assistant director to nothing. And I had to address that and tell my prospective employers, hey, this is where I was, this is what I was doing, in a way that told the story and moved it forward and turned it into a plus. I became fairly fluent in Spanish in that 5 years. That was a huge plus. So take whatever you've got and use it to sell yourself.
I just think it has to be one of those judgment call kind of things, because, again, you don't want to have those windows there where someone's wondering what you've been doing. I think it's good to show that you have been interested in your profession, that you've been actively engaged in something, and it's a fine line between saying I worked, part-time in the library doing this, and I also worked, selling jewelry at Kohl's. Now, maybe that's not so important to include, but certainly that part-time thing that you did that's library related I think it's important to show, that you don't have that gap, so you don't force the review committee to try to fill in the holes in your story.
Yeah, this is a really good question, and I think there are a lot of different ways to handle it. It is really a judgment call. If what you've been doing is so completely unrelated to libraries, what I would suggest doing is on your resume, so that random job isn't the first job that they see on the list, because a lot of times that is all that gets looked at. That first page and that first job, what? They're mowing lawns? What's that about? Maybe start off with professional experience and have your last professional job listed first, and list your professional jobs, then have a separate section that says other experience, and then you fill in all those gaps with the lawn mowing, the Kohl's, all of those other things can go there, so that we do have a full story. I mean, it really depends if that gets too terribly confusing, but I do like to manipulate my resume in a way that the most important, exciting things are on the front page, and probably your part-time fill-in job isn't the most compelling part of your application.
Can I say ditto? It is a judgment call, but I was thinking that the professional versus other experience is probably a better way. I was thinking that if you've got a bullet that says whatever that is, August of 97 through August of 99, that's enough to say, hey, this person didn't, disappear and go off the grid, that they're doing something, and it kind of assuages the concern of the committee. So yeah, you don't have to tell us every single thing that you did that particular day, but just so that the flow kind of works on the resume.